Welcome to the Business Bites Podcast, the podcast for busy entrepreneurs. Whether you're an online entrepreneur or seeking after brick and mortar success, this podcast brings you quick bites of content so you can learn and grow anywhere you are. Now here's your host, Rachel Brenke.
Hey guys, welcome to the Business Bites Podcast. I am your host, Rachel Brenke, and this is episode 77. I am joined with Mandi Holmes, who is the CEO of She Can Coterie, a full-service business and marketing management agency for online service-based women business owners. She started it in 2015 when she was unexpectedly laid off from a firm as a virtual assistant. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but she now has a fully functioning expert team of 20 plus women that do it all to help you guys. Blogging, editorial work, customer service, systems creations, travels, invoicing, you name it. The options really are endless for getting help. Mandi believes that women should run the world just as I do, and that asking for help is vital to success. And of course, having a nice latte in your hand makes you unstoppable. She likes coffee. I like coffee. We're a winning team. When she's not leading up her team, she's up leveling and helping and serve other powerful women around the world. You can find her reading when she's not making great changes or on the floor playing trains with her sweet son or binge watching Netflix with her husband. I think she's my soul sister. So Mandi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so happy to be here. I had kind of a different path to entrepreneurship. I always wanted to have my own business. So back in like 2007, back when like blogs were happening and everyone was kind of doing their own thing and doing like the whole craft thing and design and all of that. And I was like, I want to do something like that. I want to be able to work from home and do something creative. And so I always just kind of studied. I would read the blogs. I would see how they were doing things, but I never really took action. And so I was working for a VA firm. It was like a startup in Silicon Valley, and they had lots of different VAs working for them. And I was like, this is how I'm going to get to work from home. I'll do this kind of online business for someone else. And so I'm doing that for 6 months. And this is in 2015. We buy a house, and 2 weeks after we buy the house, I get an email from the company when I go to clock in on Monday morning that the company doesn't exist anymore because it's shut down over the weekend. So I'm like, well, we just bought a house. I have a mortgage. I had done all the research, so I knew like how to do the thing that I wanted to do. I've just never taken action on it. And it's funny because I had always been such an advocate for my friends who were creatives or who had great ideas to, take action, do the thing. Here are the steps to do it. Cause that's what I knew. I knew the steps to do it. I just never did it myself because I could never really find my thing. So this was the catalyst.
It's funny you say that. Sorry to cut you off, but it's like the cobbler's children have no shoes, right? Your own stuff doesn't get done. So I don't think that necessarily means that you're do as I say, not as I do. It's just when you have a passion, as I know you do, to help other people, that often overrides your own stuff until something like this happens.
Yeah, for sure. So my clients that I had through that company, they didn't have a VA anymore. And I obviously didn't have clients anymore. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I don't know what the future looks like, but I know that you need help. And they were like, okay, we trust you. We've been working with you for the past 6 months. So let's do it. So I just picked up and started working with them, and I filled my time with like creating my website and like updating it every other second, trying to just fill my time, you know how you do. But those clients were just referring me their friends and colleagues like crazy. And so I was completely overwhelmed with work within 2 months. I was working from sun up to sundown, like not stopping to eat. So it's not everybody's story the way that this happened, but I do think that if you do really great work, if your clients like you, it's going to be natural for them to want to refer you. So I brought on my sister to help me out. She had just had a baby, so she was staying at home. And I was like, hey, I'm a little overwhelmed. I can't even stop to like talk to my mom on the phone during the day. So she jumped in and started helping me. And that was really the first step into growing my team. As I started staying overwhelmed, I would bring in team members to help me out with the things that I wasn't particularly the best at, the things that I didn't like doing, the things that kind of drained me day in and day out. And so I'd bring in team members to help me out with those specific tasks. And that's how we've grown into She Can Coterie.
That's awesome. So you guys offer things like blogging, social media management, even through customer service and technical support. And it's interesting looking at this entire list they have on the website. I'm going to link it for you guys in the show notes. But it's funny because and it crosses with what you just said a little bit ago, getting people to do tasks for things that you don't necessarily like. In this list, if I had to sit and create from consulting with entrepreneurs of things that either they don't have time for or they don't like doing, this is like the entire list right here. So I absolutely love that. So would you say, I mean, your path with this is realizing a need for yourself and for others. Would you say that dragging your feet on getting help would have been one of your biggest mistakes in the beginning? I know for me, it definitely was.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because as we start our business, we're like, this is my thing. I know what I'm doing. We treat it like it's our baby, and we don't think that anybody else can do the things that we do or know the things that we know. And that's just really not true. There are people out there with skills and knowledge and just the desire to help other people. And it's only when we can let go of what we're just holding on to so tightly that we can find and get the help that we need.
And what I realized after I got over that hump myself, and you guys, I've been doing this for 14, 15 years, right? Like I still have to go through this whole process of fighting against myself that I don't know it all, because guess what? There's people out there that know even better than me.
It's so true.
Which as an entrepreneur and as the CEO, sometimes you're like, I know everything. And not like in an egotistical way. You're just really confident and passionate, and those feelings can mix and blind you. So I think that's why it's really important to have like an outside objective view. And in the other episodes you guys have heard, I've been a huge proponent of having like consultants come in, identify weaknesses. And these sorts of tasks of what Mandi and I are talking about are things that are bottlenecks in many businesses, whether emotionally, like we just talked about, of the whole mindset, or actually just physically, you are doing it all and don't take the next steps. So Mandi, I know that, it's almost cliche to say, if you don't know to do something or you don't have enough time, to outsource it. And I feel like people shut off after we say that because it's said so many times, right? In the industries, like all the information you see. So what tangible steps, like a quick little list to really show the listeners and me, because maybe I'll learn something here, I'm hoping to, of when you're ready to expand, what are the next steps to get those tasks off your plate?
Okay, this is what I love. So I'm really happy to talk about it. So what I would start doing throughout the day or the week as you're doing the same kinds of tasks over and over again in your business, or look at the tasks that you're not doing in your business that you keep thinking, oh, I should really get to that, but I'll just push it off. Those are the kinds of things that you should probably give to someone else to do. So back to us thinking like, we know everything, we are the best at it. There's someone else out there that wants to do those tasks, can do it better than you, can do it faster than you. So there is always someone out there. You should be doing, your craft. You should keep that on your plate, but everything else that that drains you, you should outsource. So I would start with making a list of all of those things that drain you, all of the things that you keep pushing to the side. So for me, that was social media. For a long time, I didn't have an Instagram account. I wasn't posting regularly just because I just kept pushing it to the side. I was like, I'll get to that eventually one day, but I know that it's important to create that community, to have that outlet. So all of those things, you can make a list. And then once you have your list of the actual tasks that you want to hand off, or even the projects you want to hand off, you can go through them step by step and make a list of every single thing that goes into it. So you're not just going to bring someone on and say, hey, I want you to take over my social media, or hey, I want you to post my blog post. You're going to say, these are the exact steps. This is the exact way that I do it. So I recommend actually pulling up your WordPress site or your Squarespace site to put in the blog post yourself and write down step by step as you're doing it. Or you get bonus points if you record like a screen flow while you're doing the blog post so that someone can see exactly how you do it.
I like this because I am so guilty of just knowing how to do something and not writing out the steps. And going through the exercise of this will actually show so many weaknesses. At least for me, it did. I mean, I'm transparent to say, I have the mindset of I know it all, but once I have to sit and explain it to someone, then I realize maybe that is not the most efficient or smartest way to do something.
Yeah, so you're going to be able to see that. You're going to see the gaps, you're going to see the things. So like if you don't have your systems and processes written down that you follow step by step every time, you're probably, when you do it, you're probably missing steps. Like, oh yeah, I forgot. I need to link and add, whatever. So you're like forgetting those steps because you're just trying to keep it in your brain. So getting those systems and processes out on paper will be helpful for you, not just the person that you hire. And I would recommend doing that for everything that you do so that you are having consistency for every single thing that you do.
I like that you said that about the screen flow because for us, we do that like with my team. And so we record everything. A, it's quicker. B, it makes more sense. And C, we stick it into like our private Vimeo channel, and we have like an admin channel. And you can even do this on Facebook now in certain groups. They allow you to portion out videos and tag it as certain things, and you can easily find it that way. From a personal standpoint, I love this, not just from being able to hire somebody, but what if something happens in your personal life? Like for me, and I've heard this before, when I had cancer, I didn't have a lot of this in place because I was still learning my business. And so I kept telling myself, you don't need to write down the workflows because you haven't gotten to a solid, perfect workflow. Well, guess what? You're never going to get to it. But you know what I was doing? I was going through my surgeries, I was going through my radiation, and I was having to try to keep up or explain to someone else how to do something. And that's not the way you want to go to do things. And yes, cancer is a really extreme example, but you could get the flu for a week. You could just simply get into a car accident, or maybe you just need a brain break. And I get paralyzed at the thought of writing out the workflows, but I get even more paralyzed at the idea of trying to onboard somebody without those. And it just becomes this whole circle and this whole catch 22. And this episode is probably going to be one of my favorite ones because this is an area that is my answer when people say, how are you able to do so much? And it's because of exactly, Mandi, what you're talking about here. And it sounds like these simple steps that are so revolutionary. So I love that you outlined it that way.
Right. Yeah. The how do you do so much question is so funny to me because it's kind of like when people say you have the same amount of hours in the day as Beyonce. You're like, sure, yeah, we all have 24 hours, but Beyonce doesn't like shift and bend time to be able to do all the things. She has people on her team doing the things that are not her strength. Her strength is getting on stage, singing, dancing, like being Beyonce. And her strength probably is not, I mean, she might be good at it, but her strength is probably not like meal planning and making sure that there's food in the fridge for her kids. Like that's probably not something that she needs to spend her time doing because that's not her strength and that's not her moneymaker. So yes, we all have the same amount of time in the day as Beyonce, but she has so much support, and that's how she's able to get so much done.
One of the questions that we always ask in the team, and I say we because we're very team-based, is do Rachel's fingers need to touch this? Do her fingers have to be the ones that actually post that message or do X, Y, and Z? And I balance that with things like I do my own social media interactions because that is something I value for my personal brands. But in order for me to have time to do that, I offload other tasks that don't need me to press the button to publish or to post or to organized. And so I think that if you go down the line, just like Mandi's talking about, make this list. And honestly, look at her website that I'm going to put in the show notes. It has a whole list of what they can help you with, but it's also a really good list to show you maybe areas that you don't like or you're not good at. And because I can do it right here for my own stuff with a whiteboard marker and go, yep, that's something that my fingers don't need to touch, that I have offloaded or I need to offload. Makes it really, really simple. I think one of the things, so the first step we just talked about was getting the workflows in order, which will reveal a lot to you guys. It will show you, it will help you fine tune your processes. You'll have ready to offload. But Mandi, can you tell them when they're ready to find someone? They've identified these tasks and they're just ready to get rid of it. What is the next step from there? Maybe it's the actual finding of somebody. Maybe that's the financial investment of hiring someone. What are your tips for that?
Yeah, so I would take those workflows that you created and put them in a dedicated space. So for us, that's Asana. We like to put every single workflow in Asana. And that way you're ready to onboard someone. But I would say the next thing you want to do is write up a job description. So this doesn't have to be like fancy corporate job description. Anytime we're hiring, we write out, what our team is like, what we want the person that's working on our team to be like, what their role is going to be, what the specific tasks and skills that they need to be able to do or have. And then the way that we actually have found people in the past is in Facebook groups. And I know that sounds scary because especially if you're asking for like, I'm looking for a VA. So I would say never say that you're looking for a VA because people you'll get like 102 comments and then you'll have to wade through those. So I recommend giving the job a title and looking for hiring based on the skill instead of based on just like generalities. So yeah, you can go in and you can post in Facebook groups where those people might be or on your social media. But I would say give them a specific way to contact you with specific instructions. So we don't like respond to anybody in comments. Like we don't respond that way or in direct messages. We send them to our website where that job description is. They have to fill out a form. They have to create a Pinterest board that describes their personality. They have to send us a video introducing themselves to the team. And then I always put something like specific in there. Like whenever you email all of this to me, make sure that in the second paragraph, you tell me what your favorite color is. And so all of these things are helping me see their personality, if they can follow direction, what their like technical skill level is. And so it's giving specific touch points so that I can get a good feel for who they are, because I think that like fit for the team is so much more important than like technical skill. Sure, we're hiring based on those skills, but if they don't mesh with the team, it's not going to be a long-lasting relationship.
Agreed. I love that you said that about hiding something, quote unquote, hiding it, like what's your favorite color to show if they're paying attention to detail, if they're following directions. We just recently hired a podcast manager. And that was the lesson that I knew before from hiring, but I really saw come to action. How many people would PM me when I said email, when I would say put a cover letter or send a resume, and they would just say, I'm inquiring about X. And I'm like, no, you didn't even get past the first stage. If you can't follow directions, and again, I look to make sure that my directions were clear, and they were, but if you can't follow directions, I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste your time interviewing you,
Exactly. Yeah, we'll have 30 to 50 people start the application, and then it comes down to like 10 people that actually follow through the 3 or 4 steps. So it really narrows it down, and then we can see based on what they've sent in if we think they're going to be a good fit, if they have the right skills, and then we move on to hiring. So it really narrows down who you actually get on the phone with, because your time is valuable and so is their time. So we don't want to waste anybody's time.
And for me, after interviewing so much, if I don't have a really good qualification process before even getting to the interview, I get just exhausted of interviewing. And then I either don't hire, which puts me right back and actually in a worse position than I was before, or I end up rushing to hire. And I think that, and I've shared this before on the podcast, I'm completely transparent about this. Management and hiring is one of the very hardest things for me. I'm just not, I have to actively really work at it. And my dad has always said, slow to hire and quick to fire. Well, I've always been like the reverse, because I'm like, I just need to get projects done. I need to do this. So these kind of steps that you're talking about are things that I'm still getting my head around. So guys, if you're listening, Mandi has given you like the exact workflow that really will set you up for a less stressful process of finding someone and getting them in the door. And of course, so through the process, we've identified the tasks they need and how to get the person. But do you have any tips on how they can afford to have the person, especially if they're really new in their business?
Yeah. So when I say ask for help or get the help you need, it doesn't always have to be hiring. So if you're not in a place that you can afford to hire, please don't hire someone and then pay them on a credit card. Like, don't put their fees on a credit card. If you can't afford help, there are still helpers around. We've had clients who in the beginning would have like their mom proofread their blog post before they put them up, or their little sister can edit the graphics for them, or even just asking for advice and that sort of things, which there are always people that are willing to help you out without paying. So I would say if it's smaller things and you're just beginning, you can pay them in cookies or something like that. But I would say that it's the right time to hire when you have way too much work and you're completely overwhelmed, which is where I was. Or if you find yourself with a little bit of extra cash at the end of the month, then you know that you're going to be able to hire someone and afford them. So you can always start small. This was kind of a mind block that I had, was that when I hire people, I need to hire a full-time employee and I need to be ready to like pay for their sick leave and give them bonuses and all of that. And no, that's not true. You're not hiring someone full-time right off the bat. You can hire someone for a couple of hours a week or a few hours a month. It doesn't have to be a full-time 40-hour a week with benefits kind of situation.
I agree, and I spinning this into the legal side, since that's, you guys know, that's where I'm really heavy on. Episode 45 actually talks about like the employee versus independent contractor. So you guys can check that out, rachelbrenke.com/EPI 45. And it gets into like the legal nuances and kind of gives you a little path for that. But I completely agree with what Mandi just said. For me, even if I know that I want to hire someone as a full-time, like W-2 employee, and even though I have that legal stuff under control, we still will take the approach, and it's exactly what Mandi said earlier, making sure that they fit with the team. We'll take the approach of either a probationary period / independent contractor with just a few tasks to get them integrated and see how they work. I find that it's easy, no matter how much you try to qualify them and use all these great tips that Mandi has given us, but people can still give the perfect answer during the interviews. So it's when you're actually working. For me, my recommendation is kind of do like a probationary period. And yes, it does require a bit more oversight and intention, but that little bit of elbow grease and time there will, if you find a good hire, will dramatically, quote unquote, expand your hours in the day, because then you're able to offload whatever these tasks are. And in partner with that, for the financial stuff, I recommend, and we do this routinely in our business. We were just doing this week. We go through and look at all of our costs. Do we have subscriptions that we're not really using? Has technology changed and we can consolidate? Because, like Buffer and Tailwind and all those kind of things, they start offering new types of functions. And maybe we're paying for 3 systems that have all the same different functions. Those sort of things, and eliminating these little cost and holes in the boat allows me to plug it and then save that money to have people to help elsewhere and not just be wasting money because we're working hard. We want to keep our money or we want to invest in somebody. So thank you, Mandi. This was so, so good. Do you have any other tips you can think of to help those that may be on the edge? Maybe they just don't want to let the control go, or what is it that you think people need to know in order to take those next steps?
Yeah, so I think it's really just about getting clear on why you started your business in the first place. Did you start your business to like plug in blog posts and check the links and like research what the best platforms are? Like, is that why you started your business? And it's probably not. You probably started your business because you have a passion, because you see something that you can fix, that you can help. You probably started your business for a bigger, wider, greater purpose than the smaller, tedious tasks. So I want you to begin, as you're working through the week, through the next month, to be thinking about, is doing this task the reason why I started my business? Is this specific thing that I'm doing part of my greater purpose? When I think back on my life in the next 50 years, am I going to be so happy that I spent my time doing these smaller tasks? Or am I going to be grateful that I got the help that I need and I was able to accomplish so much more and help so many more people? Because I think that's why we started this thing in the first place, is to make a difference, to get our message out into the world. And it's so important that we do that, especially in this day and age, that we bring our light into the world and shine it in the dark places. And that's why we're here. We're not here for all of the smaller, tedious things. But the really cool thing is that those smaller tasks, those smaller projects, they add up to bigger things, but someone else helping you out with that could be their greater purpose. So every woman on my team doing the things that I don't want to do, that don't light me up, that are not my greater purpose, it is their greater purpose. And so by allowing other people to help us out, not only do we get to walk in our strengths, but they get to walk in their strengths. And that is when the world is going to change and be a better place.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you, Mandi, for coming on. This was absolutely wonderful. Guys, please be sure that you dig into the show notes, you take notes. Feel free to reach out. I'm going to link all of Mandi's contact information so you guys can reach out directly to her. Check out all the services that she has. She has team members ready to do these sort of tasks for you guys. And just please make sure you guys are committing to this. We are coming up on a new year. It's a great time to start it. Don't get paralyzed. Take the steps and succeed in your business. Hey guys, don't forget that I have incredible documents and guides over on rachelbrenke.com to help you with your business. In the context of trying to get help, you need to be hiring either employees or independent contractors. Well, in the episode, I talk about listening also to episode number 45, but what I didn't share is that you guys need to make sure you have the proper legal documents in place. You need to have services contracts available to sign with your team member so that you set expectations, you create the legal relationship, and you also have recourse if things go awry. You also need to take into consideration who owns the intellectual property if they are providing you and creating items in the business. Be sure that you guys hop over to rachelbrenke.com and check out the employment section of the shop. These documents are lawyer drafted, immediate download, and completely customizable for you to use in your business so you can stay successful and protected.
Thanks for joining Rachel on this episode of the Business Bites. For show notes, a list of recommended tools, or referenced episodes, you can find them at businessbitespodcast.com. Until next time.